Hi, my name is Tiffany Furch, and I am presenting my research project for English 526, Critical Thinking and Reading. My current event is, and I've entitled the presentation, Harry Potter and the Casting Controversy. So the current event deals with the new casting for the TV series that is coming up. The original Harry Potter film series was produced by Warner Brothers Pictures on November 16th, 2001. It changed the world as being the first film in the entire Harry Potter series, which was an adaptation of the novels, and it ended up grossing $974 million worldwide. It was actually one of the highest grossing movies in history and caused a fandom that still is in existence today. The series as a whole, the film series, was actually nominated for 6 Academy Awards. Although it didn't win, they still were nominated, and they are still phenomenal films and beloved by many, many, many individuals. So, what does this mean? Well, the original Harry Potter cast, okay, so J.K. Rowling ended up being quite involved in the casting process in the first film. Her condition was that a vast majority of the Harry Potter characters, cast members, must be British and Irish actors. Again, there are different nationalities within the book, and they are also of those nationalities. So she was very, very strict when it came to keeping one's nationalities true to the novels and true to the cultural identities of these different characters within the book. Of the cast that she ended up hiring, or that the films ended up hiring and casting in these roles, it was a mixed bag of well-known, classically trained actors and actresses and brand new, largely unknown actors during that time period. We know them now because of this film series, and they're famous now because of this film series. But back in that time period when they were casting this first film, they were largely unknown. So the well-known, classically trained actors and actresses: Dom Maggie-Smith playing Professor McGonagall, Robbie Coltrane playing Hagrid, Michael Gambon playing Dumbledore, the best teacher there is. And then we have the brand new, unknown individuals, the young actors, the more well-known young actors, which was Daniel Radcliffe, who played Harry Potter, who was handpicked by J.K. Rowling herself, Rupert Grint, who played Ron Weasley, and Emma Watson, who played Hermione Granger. Now, we have more characters in the novel, obviously. And one of the major antagonists in the film and in the novel series is that of Severus Snape. In the novel, his character description is quite varied, but he is consistently described in a certain way. They describe him, or the book describes him, Rowling describes him as a thin man with sallow skin, which is pale, whitewashed skin, a hook nose, and greasy shoulder-length black hair. We can see that with this quote from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which is in chapter 5. This is the first time we see him in the novel. There we have another example, which is Order of the Phoenix in chapter 28, when they describe Snape as a teenager, and he has stringy, pallid look about him, like a plant kept in the dark. His hair was lank and greasy and was flopping onto the table, and his hook nose barely half an inch from the surface of the parchment as he scribbled. So, he is not just described as a weedy, pale, greasy, unwashed-looking character, but he is also severely unpleasant. He is largely unliked by most of the readers throughout the entire series. There are some redeeming qualities here and there about him, we find out, but largely he is quite the villain for for the length of the series. So, originally, they cast Alan Rickman as the original Snape. And as you can see from this photo and all the other photos that are of Alan Rickman, he bears a very strong resemblance to the character description in the novel. Marie Grand Dupree also is the artist for the books, and this is also her depiction of Snape as well. So Alan Rickman was cast as the original film series Severus Snape. He was also personally chosen by J.K. Rowling. He attended the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. He was a Royal Shakespeare Company go-to. He was a member of the Royal Shakespeare Company, and through his enacting of Severus Snape, he is now considered as iconic, and he is still widely popular as Severus Snape. He is the standard bearer for that character. Now, why is this a current event? Well, the current event is that Harry Potter is getting a reboot, picked up by HBO. And it is set to release in 2026, and it's going to be a TV series that's going to be released over the next several years. But year one is next year. So, they are in current casting sessions for the major roles. They also include a series of well-known and unknown performers. But what is the current event? Why is it being talked about so much? Well, the current casting of the new Snape is rocking the wavelengths because they cast Papa Eστιζou as the new Severus Snape. He is a British citizen. He is a Guildhall School of Music and Drama graduate, and he is a member of the Royal Shakespeare Company, much like Alan Rickman. You may have seen Eστιζou in his roles in Gangs of New York and Murder on the Orient Express and a series of other movies, and also the TV show The Black Mirror. So he's quite talented. He has a long list of accomplishments in the acting world, both film and TV. Now, why is this a current issue? Well, the current issues is that he does not bear a physical resemblance to the character in the book. The pros for casting Eστιζou in this role is that he brings a new and fresh perspective. When we race swap in this situation, this could bring a new character perspective, a new personality, a new depth to conversations, also to the watchers of the show. It could also open the gate for new storylines and new possibilities and new conflicts, new contexts in conflicts within the plot. He is a skilled and talented actor. He is also a way to include diversity, representation, and inclusion in the Harry Potter series, which is largely and predominantly Caucasian-based. Now, what might be the cons? The fact that he does not fit the narrative description, and this poses a problem and a conflict for online readers and readers of the book and the fandom, because Snape's appearance is actually plot. The fact that Snape is pale, is thin, is described as a bat-like character, a plant who wilts in the sun, is plot. Basically, because he is mistreated and treated based on his looks. This also opens up the possibility for a racially charged storyline, which there isn't one currently. And although the book series talks about prejudice a lot, it does so in the way of bloodlines. So is a person magic, or is a person magical, or is a person non-magical? Are they a muggle, or are they a witch or a wizard? However, if we do have a race swap situation in this case, there could be racially charged storyline, in which case it paints the characters as possible racists. One online critic, boiled down the main underlying issue is that changing Snape's race may turn James Potter's animosity against him in their youth into something more racially charged, as opposed to mere schoolyard bullying. So it opens up a whole avenue for conflict in that way when there isn't one currently. And then the last point is, are there better actors to fit the role? In which case, the fandom and many individuals online have suggested Adam Driver as a perfect Snape due to the roles that he's played and the fact that he's already played a villain in the Star Wars series, and his physical appearance really does fit the narrative description. So, the final questions, and questions that must be asked about this current trend of swapping, are the implications. What does this mean? Can diversity be forced, or does it seem disingenuous? Is this virtue signaling? And what are the pros and cons to this situation? And then, when we have this race and gender swapping situation in film and entertainment, what has happened to those other storylines, to those other films, and to those other actors and actresses, and again, Hollywood livelihoods, in which case they have swapped out these identities? Have they lost money? Have they gained money? Is this a positive or a negative? And then another one, must controversial racial angles must be included in all entertainment? Can we talk about prejudice in all forms versus only in specifically racial angles? And then, is there an alternative, a genuine path, a meaningful path to diversity in film and entertainment? How can it be more inclusive without having to swap out races and cultures and personalities of different characters? So, again, open-ended, but I want to know what your thoughts are. So it is your turn. I want to know what your thoughts are. I want to know what your opinions are on this situation and this current event. If I missed anything, please let me know. Again, thank you for listening. I genuinely am interested in hearing your thoughts, and I appreciate your attention. Thank you.